welcome back to Humanizer, where I'm converting the Make Human open source 3D character creator from Blender into Godot 4. So as you can see, I've made the in-game character creator, and you can set the gender and age and outfit as we did before. I've also added a skin color option and a race drop down as well. So there's Caucasian, Asian, and African. And of course there will be many more options, but that will be in the next episode when I import all of the 1200 shape keys from the default assets pack and the base plugin. So you can find the link to the repository for the source code in the description, and I'll show you how I got this to work. So I did set the character menu as the main scene. Now you can click the play from anywhere in the project and it will open the character menu, so you don't have to find it in the file structure in case I move it around. So that'll make it easier. So I could change the clothes builder to work in the in-game menu, but since I have all of this currently working and I mainly used it for debugging the skeleton, since you can't see that in the in-game, you can only see it in the editor. So I'm just going to make a new 3D scene, and I want to use the character body 3D, which is a type of physics body. So there are several other, but we'll use the character body, and I'll go ahead and save this in the character menu folder. Now I need the basis skeleton, so I'll drag the human.blend from the MPFB plugin. So I just disabled all of the shape keys under the data tab in Blender and attached the Mixamo rig. And this does have an animation attached, but I'll worry about that later. So I just need the skeleton 3D. I'll move that up. And I don't need the mesh or the other nodes. And now I'll get the shaded human mesh that I made. So this contains the shape keys and the shading, and it has the eyes included. It's kind of hard to see, but there they are. So, and currently you'll want to, of course, reset the transform. So if you modify one of these values, right now it doesn't really do anything other than changing the skeleton. But on the human, you'll want to, under skeleton, select the skeleton. And now when you modify the rotation, you can see the mesh moves with it. And of course, when I change the human mesh shape keys, you can see that the skeleton does not adjust with it, which is why I made the skeleton builder. So I will get that working again, but first I just want to make the menu. So I'll make a new user interface node and rename and save it. So I want to split the screen and have the menu on the left. So you could use a H-split container so they could move the side of the container. I'll just use an H-box, which will align them horizontally. And I'll set the layout to full screen, full rectangle. And rename the node. So the first child will be a VBox container for the menu, and I'll add a label for now, and the other half of the screen I'll use a sub-viewport container, so it lines it up next to it, and then you'll add a sub-viewport as the child, so this will be embedded now. And then I'll drag the human character as a child of the sub-viewport. So it goes into 3D view when you click on it. And right now it doesn't show anything, but if you add a camera 3D to the sub-viewport, and you can use preview to see where it's pointing at. So now when you select the control node, you can see that it's now visible in the 2D editor. And on the sub-viewport container, under layout, container sizing, if you enable horizontal expand and then turn stretch on, it will fill up the whole menu space. However, if you run the scene, you can see that there is no lighting or background. That's because the scene has the default environment and sunlight enabled. So if you click the dots and add the environment and the sun to the scene and drag them into the viewport, now you can see that the character has lighting and background. And you could change this environment to a solid color if you wanted, or a canvas, which would be like a background image or animation. So I'll just use the default sky though. I think that looks fine. Now, I don't have the skin texture generator working, but I'll just add a color picker instead. So first I'll add a label for the skin color. And a color picker button. If you just add the color picker, the whole thing will be embedded, so you just want the button. Set the label text, and then in the color button, you can see it's kind of small. So under layout, set the minimum size Y, and you can increase the size, and I'll change the default color to match the mesh. So now if I run the scene, when you click on the color picker button, you can change the color here. So now I want it to change on the mesh. Then in the human character scene, first I'll want to add a surface material override to the 0 index of the body mesh. This will change the skin color if you set the albedo, as you can see. And if you change the second surface, that will change the eye texture. So there's several included with Make Human, and I'll add that to the menu later. But for now, I just need the skin material. So I'll attach a new built-in script, and I want to use the character body 3D basic movement template. So this has all of the movement, velocity, and gravity calculations, so you don't have to figure that out, which is nice. Now I want to add a new function to set the skin color, which takes the color parameter. And first I'll get the surface material from the body mesh, get surface override material on surface 0, and then I want to set the albedo color. So you can see the property name by hovering in the editor. So set surface material albedo color equal to color. And you don't have to call the set function because this is pointing to an object, so it will update. So now if I open up the character creator, you can see that the character falls because I added gravity and physics. So you could add a floor underneath the human feet, which would stop it from falling, but when you change the character height, it will fall to the floor, and that won't look very good. So I'll attach a new built-in script and make a new variable pointing at the human node, and this needs to be on ready. So now in the ready function, I'll set the human process mode equal to disabled. And now when I run the character menu, the character stays in place. And now in the node, you can select the skin color button and connect to the color changed function. So I'll set the function name to onSkinColorChanged and connect to the new character main script. And here I'll call the set skin color function that I added to the human character. So now if I run the character menu, you can see that changing the skin color changes the body mesh color as well. Now I want to add the gender drop-down, so I'll add a new label . for the gender and a options button. So I'll add an element and set the text to male, and add a second element, set the text to female, and then set the selected element to the first one. So now we have a drop-down with two selectable elements. And I'll add another label for the age and a horizontal slider node for the age slider. So I'll leave the min and max value at 0 and 100. And since I don't think there's a way to display the value like on the progress bar, so I'll update that in the label. And then I'll set the starting value to 25. So if I run that, you can change the slider. So now I'll connect to the age slider's value changed signal to the new character script, and I'll set the age label dot text equal to age dash, and then I'll append the value, which needs to be cast as a string because it's an integer. So now when I run the character creator, you can see that the age number updates when you change the slider. Now I need to implement the skeleton slider code so that I can change the gender and age on the human. So I'll open up the skeleton builder, and I don't want to attach this to the character menu because you can potentially change the character's age and musculature or obesity as the game progresses. So you would conceivably need to call some of these functions outside of the character menu, and I could put it into its own class, but for now it'll be easiest just to copy it directly into the human character So I'll copy the skeleton builder, over to the human character. Now I'll change the skeleton variable to point at the skeleton 3D, and the human mesh to point at the body mesh. And I'll add a new constant dictionary for the gender options. And I'll add male and female. So this lets me use this with the auto completion, sort of like an enumerator. So now this will be a string equals gender.male, and I won't be using export variables. So, and then I want the age will still be a float, but it will be between 1 and 100. So I don't need to make the gender string anymore. I can just use the gender since I set it to the string in the dictionary. And in the age range, this will be between 0 and 1. So I want to just move the decimal point over, and then it will be between 0 and 100. And since I overrode the variable set functions, it will automatically call the update function whenever you set the variable, so you don't have to call a custom setter function. So, and I also want to add the class name for human character. So now if I make sure to save this, and now in the new character menu, I'll connect to the gender option, and in the under node, I'll connect to the item selected signal. So on gender selected, in the new character menu, so this will add a new function, and if the index equals 0, then I want to set the human.gender equal to human character. So you can see that it's not auto-completing because it doesn't see the human character class, even though we set the class name. And that's because it's a built-in script. So I'll copy the whole thing, and on the human character, detach the script and add a new one with its own file. So make a new GD script file and paste it in. And now the human character autocomplete is working, so you can set it to male or female there. Else, if the index is 1, set the human gender to gender.female. And then in the age slider changed function, I'll set the human.age equal to the value. And if I run the new character scene, now you can see you can change the age slider and the gender as well. So now in the ready function, I want to set the human age and gender to the menu defaults so that we don't start with the basis model. So now you can see that it starts with the default parameters. And so in the makeHuman plugin macro script, it sets the young at 50 and the old at 100. So I probably want to set the young around 25 and the child at like 10. So I'll go ahead and do that. In the new character, the human character. So this will be 10, and this will be 25. Or maybe the child's 10 to 12. I don't know. You can customize these values as well. So now you can see the 25-year-old is a full adult, and they get older progressively, and the child is at 12. So that looks more accurate. You probably want to extend the range of the young adult from like 25 to 40, and then start the old macro, but this looks pretty good for now. Now I want to add the clothes to the human character, so I'll add a new mesh instance 3D and rename it to clothes, and I'll drag the generated clothing mesh that I made from the shape keys into the mesh, and I'll set the skeleton to the skeleton 3D. So this has all of the blend shapes that the base human model does. So I can just add, when I call set blend shape value on the human mesh, I can add the set blend shape value on the clothes mesh as well. So now when I run the character menu, you can see the clothes are deforming, but they're not lined up with the mesh. So that's because you need to, when you build the skeleton, set the clothes mesh skin to the skeleton create skin from rest transforms. And now if I run this, you can see that the clothes are lined up correctly on the character. Then in the human character class, I'll add a function to set the clothes to a new array mesh, and I'll set the clothes dot mesh equal to the clothes. So this will keep the blend shapes. Now in the character menu, when the gender is selected, if the gender is male, I'll set the human clothes to the male casual suit 4. So you'll have to load, and then you can drag it in from the file. And otherwise, if the gender is female, then load the female casual suit mesh. So now when I run the character menu and I change the gender, you can see that it changes the outfit as well. So you can see that all is working now. Now I want to add a new label for the outfit. And I'll add another option button. And rename that as well. So I'll add the casual and fancy clothes options and change the selected to 0. So you can see you'll be able to toggle between them. Then I'll copy the change clothes function from the clothes demo. And we'll say if I'll get the clothes option equal to outfit option button dot selected, and then if the clothes option equals 0, set it to the casual outfit. Otherwise, if the clothes option equals 1, set it to the elegant suit. And then instead of gender, I'll check the human gender equals human.gender.male. Set the outfit to the male or female casual suit, and then I'll check for the elegant suit as well. So now when you change gender, instead of setting the clothes here and instead of the clothes mesh, I'll call human set clothes. So now when the gender is changed, I'll call the change clothes function. And I'll connect to the outfit option button item selected signal and add a new function to the main script. So I don't have to check the index here. I'll just call the change clothes function. And now when I run the scene and change the outfit, you can see that the outfits are still working with the mesh. So there is a problem with the female fancy outfit at the bottom of the skirt. I'm not sure why it does that, but I'll figure that out later. So this works for the most part. Now I want to add a race to the human character. So I'll add the race dictionary, which is a constant. So I'll add Caucasian, Asian, and African. And I'll add a new variable of type string equals race dot Caucasian by default. You can change it if you want to. Then I'll override the set function and set the race equal to the value, and then call the update function. And now when I update the blend shapes, I'll find, instead of using the static string, I'll call the race variable and append it to the dash. And then it adds the gender and age range. And of course you can mix races, but you'll have to find the ratio for each age range and each race. So it just adds to the complexity of this function. So I'll probably add that when I import the rest of the shape keys, and I'll just do this for now. Next, I'll add a new label for the race. And another option button. And I'll add 3 elements. So there's Caucasian, Asian, and African. And I'll set the selected element. Then I'll connect to the race button item selected function. And set the human dot race. So if the index equals 0, set the human race equal to human dot race dot Caucasian. Else if index equals 1, set the race to Asian, and if it equals 2, set it to African. And now if I run this, when I change the race, you can see that the features and height and bone structure change as well. So, and I'm not going to assign the skin color right now, it's just more effort. So maybe if I import the make human skin colors, I'll do that then. So I've been working on fully generating the meshes for the clothing, so you don't have to export each one in Blender. And I have that working, sort of working, but I'll need to probably import all of the shape keys first. So I'll go ahead and do that in the next video, and at some point I need to do the collision shapes. So I know you can use the bone attachment to add individual hitboxes on the limbs. So I'll need to generate those from the shape keys though. But that's all for this episode. Thank you for watching and have a great day.